When you see what's happening with the war today, you see humanity dying 1,000 deaths because children are being murdered in cold blood. And I have always wondered, what kind of a so-called human will it take to butcher a child? Across faiths, people believe that children are in the image of God. So what kind of a murderous intent, a killer instinct really, it could take to murder a child in flesh and blood? But then I take my mind back to history and I realize that those who do this were children once. And perhaps they saw in front of their eyes their families being murdered, their homes being snatched away from them, their childhood being robbed of them. And that is when perhaps they vowed to avenge the atrocities that were committed on them. Because how else will you reconcile yourself to a life if you manage to survive a carnage like this? What else will you commit yourself to? Perhaps early in life they vowed to avenge the deaths of their loved ones. And that is when they decide to join the forces, the so-called armed resistance or the so-called terror group. Why else do you think that Hamas returns every time after you think you have demolished them? This time again, the Israeli Defense Forces are determined to decimate Hamas, to annihilate them once and for all. But they don't realize, perhaps, that it's not possible to do that. They will take shelter in the neighboring countries, they will regroup and they will gather forces and they will come back at you. So how do you break this vicious cycle? What will it take to break this specter of violence? And if you look at the other side, if you look at the Jewish community, you will not blame them for being so guarded about their identity, their protection. The Holocaust happened just 7 decades ago. The memories of the Holocaust are still so vivid. How do you blame that community for being 10x when it comes to guarding their people or protecting their lives? And that instinct, the survival instinct that is ingrained with them, will be that much more than any other community after having suffered what they have. So then what is the way out? And that also makes me think that, we are a fortunate lot because we had the Mahatma. It could have been us. This cycle of violence could have been us. But because we had the Mahatma who believed that it is possible to have a freedom struggle through non-violent means, that is how we managed to exit that cycle of violence. And perhaps it's time then for another Mahatma to arrive. Violence begets violence. Peace begets peace. We have to understand this. And the more we continue to move with this determination to finish off the enemy, the more it is likely that they will rise from the ashes. More heads will emerge. They will simply regroup and come back at you. You cannot finish them off. There is only and only one way, and that is through peace overtures. That is through peaceful dialogue. It needs a solution through peaceful political means. That is what I think should be the aim, not just for Israel or Palestine, but for the world at large to come together. Because now that the war is escalating, more and more nations are getting dragged into it. And that can never be good news for any of us.